Hi, everybody. Welcome to AITA Pod. I'm Danny Vega, joined by the inimitable Shano D.
That's me.
Shano, so good to see you.
You too.
Big news for you. This is so exciting. Congratulations. 3 years, no drinking.
No drinking.
Wow.
I made it.
You made it.
I couldn't believe I made it this year. I was so close to drinking many a times.
Okay. We have
Sometimes for fun reasons, and then other times for, I was planning it, planning my escape.
But you did it.
I did it.
You grew stronger for it.
Yes. And I made a little post, and I appreciate all the listeners that commented or reached out. It was so nice. You know how many people, I'm so touched by it. So many people, even from the beginning of me not drinking, said that I was part of like their inspiration for stopping. I've had so many people say that, and it makes it all worth it to me. You know, because it's hard. It's so fucking hard. Like I really have been, for some reason this year, I think like I just had there's a lot of emotional stuff that happened for me. So I do think, and actually I really feel like I wasn't ever the type of person that relied on alcohol as a way to like get through hard times. But for some reason, like this year, it was just difficult. I don't really know why, but there was definitely some hard times where I was like, oof. Maybe I just need to do it as like a cry for help or something. It was like dark times for sure. But I did it. And it's good to have those little goalposts because then I feel like it keeps me like accountable, I think, to like get there. Yeah. Because there's definitely times where even in the past few weeks where it was like, I had that thought of, oh God, I wish my 3-year already happened so that like I could go and drink. Okay. You know? So I still am definitely struggling with it and need to figure out like how not to have those thoughts, you know?
Do you feel like maybe, I mean, for me, running has really helped because when I'm in it, I know that anything can fuck with it. It's a little sensitive, like even overeating before I go to sleep can throw the run. So is there maybe some other activity or something you could do that's fun or?
I think in general, I just need to get back on like maybe making some projects or like creativity, I would say, because I feel like a lot of times I'm looking for like, I guess, temporary, like little fixes of fun. Yeah. So a lot of times I'm looking forward to like trips that we're going to go on or whatever. And then sometimes I get let down by the trips because I'm putting so much emphasis on like, this is what's going to be fun in my life. This is what's going to bring me like value and happiness. But like, I really think like, completing like creative projects would be the thing that would like really actually make me feel like very satisfied and happy. And I think it's just like been a little while since I've like written, I used to write a lot more. And I just think these past couple of years with like, obviously we were extremely affected by the pandemic, but like our industry was, and then 2 years later we go on strike. So it's just like, I don't know, so much more. Like I try not to get down on myself that I would be like any further along. But, there was just so much like, I almost feel like sometimes too, I use that as an excuse. Well, it's like, oh, well, we're on strike. Like there's nothing to do, when it's like, okay, you could have been doing stuff during that time. And then I look back and I'm like, then mad at myself. So I don't know. I think I just need to come up with like solutions to like of inner happiness and not just like, where's the party at?
That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, I'm having a lot of great gains that I think the gym and running gave me a lot more like discipline. And I all of a sudden cracked and I started to do something I've been wanting to do and I know I should be doing it. Yeah. And I've only gone a week, but it's changed I swear to God, it's changed me already and I hope I can stick to it.
Wait, oh, you haven't said it yet.
I riff for an hour a day. I just riff jokes. Oh. Most of it's garbage, obviously, but a lot of it is like fully insane.
And you're just talking like out loud in your apartment.
And sometimes I'll go into material I've already done, but mostly it's just like, donkeys, donkeys, fuck a horse, that's a mule. And I'll just go. Just go. And then this is I can't believe I pulled this off.
What's that?
But I kind of got tired of all my music. I've been running a lot, and I'm like, I played the hits, baby. Yeah. I'm kind of out of hits. It takes a long time to find new music that I'm gonna vibe with. And so I just listen back to myself when I
Oh my
run,
God.
which is like kind of painful, but it's like
Well,
productive.
probably, yeah.
I'll be
Totally
like,
productive.
and then I'm getting mad at Siri because, Siri never, I'll be like, hey Siri, create a note, because I'll hear a joke and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Let's work on that.
Oh.
And hey Siri, create a note that says zebras are like horses plus pianos. And then Siri's like, I created your note that says Chinese food is delicious. What? That's not at
It
all.
won't even be anywhere close.
With what are they called? The AirPods Pros. It's just random. I'm like, where did you get that? Is somebody talking behind me? Like, it's really bad.
I never use her.
I love my Siri.
I know.
She's good at
I
other
forget that that's even an option.
It's great. It's great I like for that. For me, like storing little ideas.
Well, obviously not. She's butchering them.
Oh, but when I turn off Bluetooth, it's great. You gotta go anyway. So, but that's look. This is a great realization.
Yeah, I kind of just had it right in the past couple of days of, like, where are those feelings coming from? Like, why am I missing that so much? And I do think, actually, I was talking to Max about this not too long ago because we kind of like, we had a night out where it was his friend's birthday and it wasn't about me. Like, the night wasn't about me at all, but like, oh, Siri.
Siri, what are create a note that says zebras are like note? It says, hear a joke. Hey Siri, what are create a note that says zebras are like horses plus piano?
Okay, we got it, honey. We got it.
She made a whole
She was
note of our
insecure.
whole conversation.
She was like, oh, you think I don't know how?
Yeah.
She nailed it. She nailed that
She
one.
did. That's iconic. But we like went out and the dancing was fun at first for a little bit. And then like, it just got so crowded and I was just like, I'm going to go. But he like thought I was upset, but I was like, no, I'm just like, I'm going to go. Cause like you're having fun with your friends. You should stay with your friends. And he ended up coming home with me. I was like, I wasn't asking you to come back with me. Like, I'm happy that you're having a good time. It's just not fun for me to be in that environment. I mean, it was midnight, like,
That's
earlier in the night, it's fine. And he wasn't like mad at me for leaving. He was just like, thought you were upset, so I wanted to come home with you, whatever. It was just a misunderstanding. And he had some drinks, so whatever. And so the next day we were just like, I was just telling him like, it's hard for me to not drink, like, especially when I'm in those environments, like I'm not going to. So then I just end up leaving. And I was like, I'm just finding that I'm not having as much fun as I used to have, basically. So he's like, well, what are ways that you would? And I was like, honestly, probably more like, having dinner parties or game nights, like things where I like being around just like a few friends, or like when we have over like our neighbors over for the game. And so it's just like more intimate gatherings. It's so much fun for me, but it's like the bar scenes just aren't anymore. And I think I'm like fighting against that urge to like, because I still want to be fun and go out with my friends, but I'm like, I'm just not really having fun anymore in those environments, and it sucks, but it's reasonable.
It's reasonable.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I think you're just having self-realization, and I think most people, I feel like there's a reason, like I feel like your 30s, most people kind of go a little bit more homeward bound.
Totally.
I mean, I don't enjoy those environments really, like for a very limited amount of time.
Earlier in the night when everyone's like kind of sober. But once they cross over into that, I'm like, oh God,
I don't want to be
abort.
here,
Yeah.
Well, that's good. I mean, yeah, I think I guess can I give you a suggestion? Maybe it's not advice, but I think with the creative side, because I think you can easily do what you're saying, like just cultivate, game nights or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
But I think it's just always just smart, start small, like as small as you can, and you may not get it right away, and it might even take years. Like I was journaling, like now I journal every day, and it's very much just like it's gonna happen.
Of your regimen.
It's so natural that it's not even on my mind. But like I would just like force myself to literally write for 1 minute. Just 1 minute. Like you can write for 1 minute.
Totally.
And just doing it, I feel like will start to get your brain just going in that way. And a lot of like the discipline stuff I picked up, I got from working out, because I was like, not every day at the gym are you beating your records, but I was like, it's simple. Stimulus, which is lifting the fucking weight, response. And like it's like not more complicated than that with anything. And it's like the more you stimulate that muscle or whatever it is, writing or whatever it is, just it puts it in your brain a little bit more. So if you just force yourself to do it, eventually I do believe that you can cross this threshold and it becomes something that you hit this feedback thing of like, I know how good I'm going to feel after, like with my run, you know, like sometimes I hate the whole fucking run,
Right.
but I know that afterward, I'm always going to be like, oh,
Hell yeah.
incredible.
Totally. Kind of how the next morning after not drinking, it's like, oh my God, thank God I didn't drink.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm always happy the next morning.
Yeah. And I think this goes into our discussion of like quitting the bad thing is the first step to like getting addicted to good things. But it's hard. It takes time. I mean, it's taken me so long to get to a point where I'm like, finally, I'm doing the things that I want to do and I know will make me happy.
Yes.
But I had to spend years like checking Reddit for 8 hours a day, like whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great. I'm excited for you, Shanna. Congrats on 3 years. I just have a tiny story yesterday. I was riding my one wheel and, you know, when people see, and when I initially saw people riding one wheels, I was like, oh, you're just doing that for attention. You want
Really?
people-
Oh, that's
yeah, because it's kind of a ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
It never occurred to me that it's wonderful to ride a one-wheeled thing because it's fun.
Wonderful.
But, you know, and I always thought maybe, like, I didn't really think, but I thought maybe girls would be impressed or people would be impressed. And there was a
Has
period.
that happened?
No, not really. But people would want to ride. And that I had a lot of fun.
It's like having a dog in a park or something. It's a
Exactly.
conversation starter.
And it was fun. In the summer, that was happening a lot. But anyway, yesterday, I was going down Sunset because I like to take the one wheel to an open mic because I don't have to get in the car. It just makes a really fun experience. And there must have been, God, 50 preschoolers all walking in a huge horde, just a mass preschoolers. I couldn't even go. I had to just kind of stop. Every third preschooler, cool, what's that?
Oh my
That's
God.
awesome. And I was like, this is it. This is my moment. I felt famous. It was incredible.
There's nothing better than like 4-year-olds just being impressed and loving on ya. I love it.
I felt so
4-year-olds are like the
epic.
best.
Yeah.
They're
I
so
don't know how old they were, I
cute.
reckon. They were tiny kiddos though.
Well, it's like they can talk, you know,
Yeah.
like they have their own thoughts, but they're still like so stupid. They don't know anything.
Cats are awesome. Sure. Yeah, absolutely. You're not
Oh
wrong.
my God, so cute. I guess you didn't let any of them ride it though.
No, they were all walking by.
Yeah,
they were
that would
like
be too
clearly in some kind of
dangerous,
a
I'd say.
school situation. You know, I just kind of sat there and smiled and was like, "Thank you."
Oh, I love that for you.
Yeah, it was special.
I wish that would happen to me every day.
Just a bunch of kids thinking you're cool.
Yeah.
Shannon from Am I the Asshole podcast? Billy.
That's a bad word. Anyway, you guys.
We got one heck of a juicy app for you all today.
Today.
Our second story of the day, AITA for not indulging my manager. But first, folks, Sarah sent me to this. And actually, I think Sarah and I did not resolve.
Uh-oh. Let's
or
see
maybe
if we can.
Yeah, no, Sarah sent me this, but also a listener requested it.
Yeah, they put
Yeah.
it on our subreddit. It says a listener
Juicy,
request.
juicy. Here we go. AITA for not allowing our daughter's boyfriend to stay with her on the trip we are paying for. My husband, our 16-year-old son, and I are going next month to visit our daughter at her college, which is a few states away. She is a freshman and has been with her boyfriend, Steve, for 3 years. Steve is really a great kid, but since money's tighter in his family, he's doing 2 years at junior college while working to save up for the school my daughter attends. We've never taken him on a trip, but since he says money is tight, we decided to bring him with on our visit to see our daughter. He visited her once on his own back in the fall, but due to money, he wouldn't be able to afford another trip this year. He was over the moon when we invited him. We don't want him to pay for a single thing. His flight, his hotel room, he'll be sharing with our son. They get along really well. And his food and drink will all be paid for by us. And really, we are glad to do it. We've also never really had a disagreement with Steve until now. When speaking to my daughter about plans, the hotel came up. This is when I found out that my daughter's dorm roommate is out of town that weekend, and she plans to have Steve stay in her dorm with her while we visit. I told her absolutely not. I said what they do when we aren't here is their business, but since we're going to be there and funding the trip, he will be staying at the hotel. She called my husband and me old school or traditionalists, but we are Christians. And the idea of them staying together on our visit makes us uncomfortable. We think we are being rather generous to take him in the first place. The word got back to Steve and he actually called me and asked why he couldn't stay with our daughter. I explained the reasons above and he became irate. He tried to pull the adult card. I said, Steve, here's the deal. If you want to stay with her, that's fine. You will be welcome to tag along with our family, but there will be separate checks on every meal. And he could figure out his own way there. But he said, we know he can't afford that. And I said, all we ask is that you sleep at the hotel. He agreed, but now my daughter is saying we embarrass him and he's thinking of not coming. AITA.
All right. Well, I'm interested in seeing what you think because you and Sarah didn't get along here, or
I started off where I think Sarah is, and I understand it, which is that basically, this is a generous offer. It has some conditions, but that doesn't mean that it's not generous. So I understand that. That's kind of where I started. I mean, they're paying for his flight, his hotel room. This is easy a G. I think easy a G. Fair to say.
Yeah, I mean, a few states away, that could be. I mean, it's a flight for sure. Who knows how far, but
Flight, a hotel room, every meal they said.
Which the hotel room probably is not an extra expense for them because the son needed another room. Unless they were just going to do, like, you ever do like two queen beds with your
Have
family?
ever done 2 queen beds? Oh, girl. Yeah.
With like your immediate family.
We recently were able to push our parents into a separate room for the boys and that.
Really?
Yeah, it took a while.
We still do that. We did that when my Nana passed away in December. It was just the 4 of us and 2 twins.
Oh, man.
And man, the snoring.
The snoring. My dad snored
My dad was snoring so bad. It was just me and him the one night before our sister and mom got there. And my God, I don't think I slept for like 2 hours maybe.
How is it so loud?
It's so loud.
It's crazy.
And then I like go and turn him. I'm like, what?
Classic dad sound right there. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of ways to go here. I think the question that's being asked, what are we really talking about here? So they're Christian, they have their belief system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one issue I have, let's just change things around slightly.
Yeah.
If daughter was under 18
Mm-hmm.
and this young gentleman, well, whether or not he was, if she was under 18, I think I would say, okay, she's under 18 and this is what you have deemed is appropriate. She is not an adult in our society and she's still your child. And this is a guideline that you've set and wish to enforce. And I would say I find that reasonable. That this is your child essentially still.
Yeah.
But she ain't a child. She's over 18.
Right.
And she lives in her own place.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, that they probably pay for.
She's
at college.
Well, they don't necessarily pay for it. They didn't say that they pay for it, did they? I don't remember that.
No, but
She might have debt. I don't think they necessarily pay for it. You're right, they could. And then so they're making this offer to this young man.
mm-hmm.
He is also an adult. And it does seem a little weird to me.
Really?
Well, do I understand? I believe my parents had the same rule.
Yeah.
Would have the same rule. But here's the thing too. The rule isn't for her, it's for him, is how they've kind of voiced it.
Oh, no.
I guess it's for both.
It's for both.
For both, okay. I mean, I guess what I find bothersome is it stops sounding like it's not generous, it's transactional.
It's comes with strings attached, I suppose.
It's kind of like, okay, so then I propose the following analogy, which is my crazy child-free cousin, who wouldn't actually do this to me, I don't think, but let's just suppose he did. He doesn't push his veganism at all. But let's say he said, hey, man, you're welcome to stay in my condo on the beach. I just ask that you only eat vegan while you're there.
And then if you don't, you can't come.
We say you only eat vegan while you're there. I think that's reasonable because He's saying, when you're in my house, in my property,
want meat
I
there.
want my values adhered to. I say, all right, that's reasonable. But if he said something different, if he said, for the entire trip, I don't want you eating anything non-vegan, that would give...
when you are eating out.
In other words, don't go to any restaurants. So not what goes on in his property, but just like the conditions are that for the whole trip, I would be like, and I might still take the deal. I'm not saying it's a bad deal. That doesn't sound that bad to me. But I would still be like, you're trying to control me. And it stops feeling generous real quick when you start to control me. Then I'm like, okay, so this is a transaction to enact your values. But don't think that you're being some kind of fucking saint, because what you're doing is you're trying to manipulate me, which is fair because you're a vegan, whatever, that's what you believe. But it stops feeling like I'm going to be like, thank you so much for your generosity. Well, it wasn't exactly generosity. Something else was here.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I just think it's different in this situation because it's like these are her parents, you know? And like I understand, yeah, you're over 18, but like, I don't know, you're not really an adult until you're like a little bit older, I would say, like legally, sure. I mean, I wish they did include if they like paid for her college or not, because I don't know if that would make too much of a difference, but it's like you're still their responsibility, I think. Like, I actually remember my mom would always be like, you can never get a tattoo, or like I'm financially cutting you off, basically. So then like the second I graduated from college, I got a tattoo under my lip. And it was like, okay, well, I'm not like you're not financially responsible for me anymore. So like I definitely in college still like 100% felt like I needed my parents' approval. Like I almost like felt like not with everything, and I didn't necessarily feel like I had to like necessarily ask them permission to do things, but like, I don't know. Actually, I also remember because in Wildwood in the summer, I would have this guy that I was seeing like come down and stay. And I guess I never asked like if he could sleep in my bed. And he did. And my mom never said anything about it. And then later she like said that it made her uncomfortable. And I was like, oh, well, why didn't you ever say anything about that? Like, I didn't know it made you uncomfortable. We wouldn't have done it. And I guess I just assumed because I was out of the house, like I could do whatever because that's what I was doing in college. So I don't know. I can see them being uncomfortable with this, but yeah, like college is just always such a weird age because it's like, well, they're out doing that stuff in the world anyway. So like you're pretending like it's not happening when you're not there, but then when you're there, you don't want it to be.
I think that's what I'm like, what are you really doing here? You're honestly just being difficult for no reason. And like, honestly, isn't there something cruel about this? It's also like not just about sex. That's the thing. It's easy to say, oh, he just wants to fuck her. And it's like, no, dude, like laying next to your partner.
Like
Intimacy, waking up next to them. When you're in a long distance relationship.
Yeah.
Oh, finally seeing them. But no, I don't want them to be sleeping next to each other. Like, come on.
They do it when you're not around. So what
like,
does it
he
matter
can't afford
if you're not around?
So thank God he's fucking poor, you know? And it's like, and also the way they came back with like, well, you're welcome to go, but we're going to be splitting checks on every meal. Yeah. And it's like, why don't you go fuck yourself? We're adults. There's nothing wrong or illegal about what we're doing. We're two consenting adults. So you be Christian all you want, but like, that's my thing. It's like, yeah, so you be Christian. You be Christian then. This has nothing to do with you. We are two adults who want to have sex and sleep next to each other. So why don't you take your Christianity and practice that in your fucking house, but we're not at your fucking house. We're fucking at her fucking house. Fuck you. Yeah. And I just think it's too much. It's too much. It's forcing morals down adults' throat, and it's not likable, and it's an inherently I think the offer comes off poorly. I think it's similar, I think, in certain ways to a man saying, you know, yeah, come on over, you know, like a man going to a woman that he's friends with. Yeah, come on over, but you got to fuck me. Or like, you know, guys do shit like that. It's like, yeah, that's fucking gross. Yeah. Like you're putting pressure for people to do something that they don't want to do. Well, because that's what I want.
Yeah. I mean, that is such an extreme example because this is simply like, I honestly can see both sides because it's like as the child and the son or the boyfriend, like it's kind of like, okay, you tried to make your argument, it didn't work, so just deal with it. Like they are paying for your trip. Like I do feel like you kind of do have to just be like, okay, fine, like this trip we just won't sleep together, but like, we could just, I mean, I guess they are mostly just spending time with the family. Like that would kind of suck. You don't ever get to like even, cuddle and stuff. Like it's not just about sex. I totally get that.
I feel like go ahead.
I just see both sides, and I
think it's an inappropriate thing to either offer it up and be generous and respect the autonomy of the adults involved. It'd be just like the example I gave. If one of my friends was like, bro, yeah, I asked this girl to come over. I said, that's more what it is. Like guys will buy a girl dinner and then if nothing happens, they Venmo her,
God, disgusting.
Right. And it's like, yeah, if like a guy made an offer like that, like, yeah, I'll buy you dinner, buy you drinks, and then all you have to do is have sex with me, I'd be like, that, even though she can say no, she's still free to say no. I'd be like, it's inherently shitty to make an offer like that.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And that I feel is a similar dynamic here. Obviously, it's not the same thing, but in a sense, they are lording their economic superiority over this young man, and then also trying to spin this story like, aren't we so generous? Aren't we? You're kinda so generous, but you're also sending this sub-communication of like, but it will be by our rules and our morals and our principles. And it's like, okay, well then that's called a transaction.
Right. And it's happening anyway, unless they really think that they're not having sex.
Yeah, I mean, what are they, deluded? I just feel like there are certain offers that are inherently disrespectful. This was a disrespectful thing. And so people would say, well, wouldn't it be better? Would it be really be better if they had said nothing and not made the deal? Yes. Yes. If you don't want to bring him and respect the fact that he's an adult and she's an adult and they want to fucking sleep next to each other and sleep with each other, then fine. Then don't invite him.
Yeah. Let's read some comments.
Let's do it.
Golden Fingernails says, think it's nice that you want to pay for the trip, but they are together and this is an opportunity for them to be together privately. Obviously, they don't get to do this often, so why not just let them be? Your being, quote, Christians doesn't stop them from being who they are and doesn't give you the right to butt into their business. You may not agree with it, but they are adults. It's just too bad your generosity is conditional, YTA. Ooh, pretty good. Yeah, I get that. Definitely the long distance relationship and them not getting to have like intimate moments with each other privately like is definitely getting me in that direction a lot more for sure, and like seeing that side of it, because it's true, like that would suck to not be able to. I wouldn't even be thinking about the sex as much of a priority as like, oh my God, I just want to like cuddle and lay in bed with you and like watch TV or like be goofy with each other. You can't do that in front of your parents.
Imagine laying in bed next to the brother.
I know.
Right there. So like, do you play Xbox? No, man, I can't afford no Xbox.
Yeah.
Knowing that your girl is in the city, you haven't seen
and the
her
roommate's
for 6
gone.
months.
You finally have an opportunity to.
And then her in her bed, silence, you know?
Yeah, you're right. We do have an NTA though. You aren't controlling him. He is an adult and can do as he chooses. If he doesn't like that having his trip paid for means sleeping at the hotel you are paying for, that's on him. He doesn't need to go on your dime.
I think to go farther into the transactional side, it's like, okay, so say like a podcast sponsor is like, we're going to pay for your trip to this hotel, so we want you to post stories that you're staying at the hotel, and we don't want you to promote any other hotels. I'd be like, super reasonable. This is a reasonable trade. The intent is clear. We're there to promote a hotel. But then if they were like, but you can't do any gambling on the trip. Now, I still might take the deal, but it would rub me the wrong way. I'd be like, why would you even stipulate that? Like, that's so none of your fucking business. It's like kind of violating. I'm like, who do you think you are?
Dan needs to gamble, y'all.
I need to gamble. No, I didn't even gamble when I last went to Vegas. Actually, I did. I did lose $20, I know. But you know what I mean? Like, it's violating. It's weird. Like, I don't know. I'm just like, leave me alone. I'm a person. Like, I'll take your deal, but don't add weird things to
Yeah, I would understand if it was like, don't post about you gambling because we don't want to promote gambling.
Yes.
But if it was just like, you just simply cannot gamble, period, it is kind of like, well, wait, why?
Yeah, or you need to be in the hotel room every night by midnight. I would be like, what the fuck? Like, it's violating. It's just like, why would I have to like follow your strange rules just because that's what you think is right?
What was Sarah's perspective?
Pretty much the thing that like he's free to not go, and that, I mean, the other example I gave of economic exploitation, because look, here's the point that I think holds no water, which is when people say he can just say no. Okay, well, here's an example.
Well, then what? He can't see his girlfriend? Like, fuck that. That sucks.
Exactly, right? So what about when, remember bum fights? It was like a thing. It was a horrible thing. But basically the premise was they would pay homeless people to fight each other. But let's just go to a less drastic example. Just like people will pay homeless people to do horrible things, like eat a thing of toothpaste. $100, eat the toothpaste. And a lot of homeless people will happily do this deal and take your $100. Does that make it okay just because they're down to do it? Like, no, you are taking someone who is economically disadvantaged, exploiting that to do your sick little thing for whatever reason, to create a video or whatever it may be. Like, that's what I view this as. It's like, I'm gonna control you and you're gonna happily say yes. And it's like, that doesn't make it okay. You're still exploiting them.
Right. Yeah. Totally. I get that for sure. Because it's like, yeah, what? He's not going to go.
Of course he's going to go.
Which, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, what they're asking for is nowhere near as like, you know, drastic as that example. Like, it's not that horrible for him to go. Like, yes, he would, you know, not really get to spend quality time with his partner, but like at least he's seeing her. But yeah, that does kind of, you know, ruin the point of spending time with your significant other. And then you just have to be around the in-laws the whole time, you know?
It's like a little cruel.
Yeah. I mean, not going is worse because, of course, you want to see your girlfriend. But
having to say goodbye to her every night. Oh, no, you have to go back to the fucking Radisson.
Yeah.
Kill me.
Well, I remember this one time. This is a little bit of a confessional. If my parents listening, I don't think they know this. But in high school, my high school boyfriend, I lied to my parents. I told them I was staying at my friend Christina's and I stayed at my boyfriend's. And his mom was okay with it as long as I slept in their daughter's room.
Oh,
she was out of town.
classic.
She had was at a sleepover. She was like in 8th grade or something. And we were seniors. And then, of course, like, you know, I snuck down to his room and then like snuck back up before.
Snuck down. They got rooms on the downstairs and the upstairs.
Well, he was like in the basement.
Oh, okay. Basement boy.
Well, you know, it was like one of those like game room basement kind of things.
But that was his room?
Yeah, it was like they had a TV, whatever, and then there was like a separate like room.
Oh God. Can we talk like high school shit like that? It was pretty fucking hot. I feel like that level didn't
like
get
sneaking
matched.
down and stuff. Yes, it was so
adrenaline.
exciting. And my parents like just thought I was at a girl's house.
Well played.
And I told her that, like, I told the mom that they knew and everything like that. But yeah, I would just like I just snuck back up, like, you know, before the sun came up to the daughter's room.
Yeah.
But I understand them having rules like that when you're in high school.
When you're in high
even
school-
though we were like nearly 18, if not 18, but
Rules about your property, I think, are fair. I say, hey, it's my house. You ain't doing that here because it's my house. Those are my rules in my house. But, you know, I can't stop you from going to a fucking motel. I think that's fair. I mean, personally, I couldn't afford a motel, so I lost my virginity in my van. But, you know.
putting all the condoms in the cup holder.
Oh, God. It's true.
And he would leave them there, right?
Wait, oh my God. Yeah, I left them.
you've
Oh, you're
said
talking about
that
me. I
all
thought you
the
were talking about
time.
your guy.
No.
Yeah, I forgot them sometimes. And then,
They would just pile up.
this girl freaked out and she was like, what happened? And so I remember I had to blow the nastiest water balloon of all
To see if
time.
there's a hole in it.
There was no hole. There was no hole.
Did you get anything in your mouth?
No, I mean, a little residue. Would wipe it off.
Oh, brother.
The van.
Oh, brother, folks.
Anyway, I'm interested. You know, I try to take a middle of the road position, but in the end, I do think that this is an inappropriate thing. And I honestly do believe that it's less asshole-ish to just not make the deal. That's what I believe. So, but I'm curious. I can't wait to hear what people think of this.
I know, I'm curious too. This is definitely a split down the middle one. I can totally see how other people are going to take a harder stance, but you brought me over, I would say.
So we agree, AITA, for not allowing our daughter's boyfriend to stay with her on the trip we're paying for.
I think so.
YTA.
Yeah, I don't like that they're having all these strings attached kind of thing.
Guys, please rate, review, subscribe. Join us on Patreon, patreon.com/AITA pod. We are over 200 bonus eps. There's so much juice on there, folks. I can't even believe the juice levels coming out of this thing. We've got a Discord, so many great discussions there, amazing community. Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Shannon is killing it. Personally, I think our Instagram is straight up fire. This girl is crushing it. And that's it. Here's Shannon.
All right. This is a listener submission.
Ooh. Oh, you could submit on our subreddit, reddit.com/r/AITA pod.
Yep. AITA for not indulging my manager. I, 25F, work at a popular brewery in a mid-sized town where I lived my whole life. Obviously, I had other previous jobs, and one of them was where I worked with my now manager, 30M. This was at a coffee shop, and we became really close. We actually contemplated dating one another and then completely went to ignoring me at work and my calls and my texts. Made sense when he went public with his still current girlfriend, 26F. So when I left, it was not on a good note. Around 6 months later, he texted me asking me about my current job and that if he was going to be maybe a good fit for it. He wanted to apply and could I put in a good word? I did because I thought he'd be a good addition. He was hired and made manager. At the start of nearly a year ago, we'd have a beer after a shift and chat, or he'd crack really inappropriate jokes when no one is around, or pretend to put me in a chokehold, or pick me up for a hug, or find some small way to touch me. I've now become uncertain and uncomfortable by most of those things, and to be objectified every shift, that's not friendship to me. So I pushed him away. We don't hang out at all anymore, and I don't talk about our stressors or even make jokes. Just coworkers, which has been okay with me while figuring out what my boundaries are. Well, after a long, crazy shift, he texted me asking if we could sit down and have a little meeting. I knew it was something was up because of the way it was worded. More manager, not really friendly. He wanted to express that he feels disrespected as a friend and a manager and that he didn't need an explanation or an apology, but just wanted to communicate his feelings. That in the last 6 months, people have been asking him why I hate him, or that it makes it harder for him to have respect from others because of my attitude. That he's anxious every shift we work together, that I could be more polite in my responses, and that it's made him sad that we haven't talked or that I haven't checked in on how he's doing. Initially, this made me shocked to hear because I never, and I mean never, mean to be rude or disrespectful to anyone. Deeply apologized and sobbed. I had no idea he felt that way and said I would do better to be respectful as a coworker. Now that I'm thinking about how to readjust my attitude for those. It sucked hearing it at first, but now I'm thinking about how to readjust my attitude for those whom I interact with. However, when I asked for an example in the situations he could come up with was how after he offered me a second sip of a high alcohol stout during closing duties, I made a face and said no, not a no thank you.
Oh, what a tragedy.
Or the shift before, while he tried to show me something on his phone in front of customers while it was insanely busy, I walked away to do my job. He said those interactions with me made him want to punch a hole through the wall.
So we agree. You are toxic.
Oh my God. After we hugged and worked the shift together, where he proceeded to make small touches to elbow or arms, said, "I'm so glad we're friends again," and made inappropriate jokes. After not laughing and telling him he was pissing me off, he left me alone and just worked normally. Now, as I'm sitting here thinking over the entire day and past months, as one does, am I really an asshole for not indulging him in a fake friendship? I get that I could have and can say those things that I'm not comfortable with, i.e., sexual degrading jokes, touches. I guess I could ask him how he's doing, but I'm also not his girlfriend. If I ask him if he's all good and replies with yeah or I'm fine, how is it my fault and he doesn't want to talk about it? AITA?
Yeah, this guy is just so freaking manipulative. Pro levels here.
Just weird. It's like there's so many boundaries being crossed, like not only within the work environment, but also two people that like are in a relationship too.
Oh, I missed that. Is both are in a relationship? I thought he was with the girlfriend at the previous job. I thought that was old news.
No, he's still
public.
currently with her.
And then she has a boyfriend?
Yeah, maybe I cut that out. I cut that out, I think. But
Okay.
yeah, she has a boyfriend as well.
Either way, it doesn't matter. It's like, yo, you need to read the fucking room, dog. Like, she's sending you very clear signals. I think she's sending signals of like, yeah, we're fine.
Yeah.
Neutral. So we work together. That's it.
Yeah. Also in a restaurant setting, like it's so fast paced and like manners just sometimes are going to go out the window. I'm sorry, but it's just the facts of it. Like where he's trying to show you a picture and it's like, okay, dude, I'm working. Like I'm trying to tend to my table right now. You know, it's like as a manager, I feel like you should understand that there are going to be some like tense moments where it's like, oh, like I didn't get an apology or like you were terse with me. It's like, that's restaurant life, baby. Get on board.
I think I would flip that and say, I think you're being a little rude and presumptuous.
Yeah, for showing me a picture while during rush hour.
Shut the fuck up. A picture? What are you doing?
Totally.
We're running a business here. What are you doing?
Absolutely.
Like-
He's being so unprofessional.
100%.
In so many ways. Don't be touching me.
Yeah, touching women, I think, like, I thought men knew this. You just don't touch women. It's just not. If they touch you, then they're sort of saying maybe you can go back. But, like, otherwise, don't fucking do it. And not in a work context. Like, I honestly just think it's just kind of sloppy and unprofessional. I know sometimes you date the coworker. I get it can happen. But, like, as a man, you should be so fucking careful and err on the side of caution and respect, also just for the sake of your job. But as we were talking about on the bonus, I do think the restaurant and dare we call it just the drinking industry, things do get a little bit wild and rowdy and casual.
They really
reality.
do. And it sucks because it shouldn't be that way.
Shouldn't.
And I think he's kind of confusing, like, I'm curious how he is with other employees because it almost feels like he thinks, oh, well, we're friends. So like, why are you like acting like my employee? Well, it's like, because I am your employee. Like,
Right.
And also we met on a job. Like he just getting his lines crossed very much.
He's such a motherfucker. And then we really see, and this is what really makes me absolutely hate him, is the way he just goes to indict OP. And I hope you won't be offended by this, but I did see this as something that would have worked on you. The way he fucking just, God, he plays her like a fucking fiddle, right? He lays it all on her and just creates all these like little emotions, which he might honestly have just because he's a petty fuckhead, but it's just like, you know, yeah, people ask why do you hate me? And you know, it makes it harder for me to have respect from others because of your attitude. And I'm anxious every shift because of how you work together, how you act. Everything's your fault and it's made me sad.
Yeah.
And it's like, shut the fuck up.
Like, can you be introspective at all to understand that maybe your behavior is the thing that's making me act this way? Like you touching my fucking elbow, you like interrupting my work, you trying to show me fucking little pictures and shit and like wanting to have beers with me. Like he clearly is manipulative
it's
because
all your fault.
I think she also understands because there's a little bit of history with them where they were gonna like practically date and then he just ghosted her essentially.
Yeah, that was weird. He couldn't just say something. Can't say nothing.
He's clearly so fucking toxic and he wants to. There's almost a part of me that feels like he wants to, like he has a girlfriend, but he wants to like be desired by like somebody else, you know? And so now she's being cold and it's like, well, wait a minute. Well, now it's like, why are you even thinking about me that much?
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ, we're trying to work here. I helped you get the job because I thought you'd be a good manager. You're fucking not.
And I feel for OP for that too. She helped him.
Totally.
Yeah, I think there's people like this, and you nailed it. Why aren't you introspective? You got no reflection. People are sending you repeated signals, and you're just gonna ignore, and then finally it's all their fault. And it's a song and dance that a lot of toxic people do, and they're fucking good at singing and dancing, and that should not be ignored because it did work. And I mean, I've had people do this to me, and I'm like, damn, I guess you're right. I guess it is all me. Oh.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, what you said earlier, like she's doing exactly what I would do, like sitting up late at night, like, wait a minute, have I been rude? And like, am I not a good employee? Like, I was just trying to get my work done. Like, am I holding on to resentment of when he ghosted me? Like, I don't know. I would have definitely put all the blame on myself for sure.
Same.
And there's a power dynamic.
Oh, yeah. And he thought he's on top of her in this job as well. He's the manager.
I mean, I'm sure. I mean, she was worried about getting fired or getting written up or whatever.
Just putrid.
She should not have gotten him this job. I mean, you know, I'm not trying to put any blame on her at all, but just maybe lesson learned going forward. Like, clearly it didn't end well. Like, I'm wondering why she even, like, got him the job. Like, she said it ended bad on her part. I'm wondering, like, if there was some maybe even hope of.
He probably manipulated her. I really need this. Can you help me? Things are so hard right now, and nothing's my fault ever in my whole life. It's just been a series of problems that I'm the victim of. Please, let me touch you.
He reminds me of actually one of our old managers at the steakhouse that I worked at. He was the like showing a picture while you're like working is so spot on to something he would do. Yeah. He was ridiculous, but the terrible thing that he did was made our hostess, who was like, I mean, when I started, she was definitely 17. I don't remember if she had turned 18 by the time that this went down or not, because we went through so many managers in a short period of time. So I can't remember if she was like, had turned 18 either way, but honestly, she might have been 17 when he was doing this. She was beautiful. And she would be like, you know, doing work on the little computer thingy. And he would stand up next to her and like whisper in her ear, my God, you're so beautiful. I've been thinking about you all day. Like, Jesus Christ, the things that you do to me. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And you know, I was like 10 years older than her. And I was like, oh my God, like if you, like, I almost like wasn't sure how to handle it. I remember like going home later that night and like texting her and being like, because, you know, like we kind of like make light of it and it'd be like, oh my God, he's so creepy, blah, blah. But then I was like, holy shit, no, like I'm the older person here. Like I need to be like, if you want to go to the owner or if you want to report him, like I'll have your back 100%. Like I'm leaving it up to you what you want to do. But like, I think this deserves addressing it. She ended up not wanting to do anything and he ended up getting fired like pretty shortly after that.
Love to hear it.
I know, but I was just like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Like I can't just make like jokes in light of this. Like this is putting her in a very uncomfortable situation. I need to like let her know, like, you know, she's 17, 18.
That was good. That was great. I think that was the right thing to do. And yeah, and so many people too. And like, this is why like this economy, and I feel like this has been true my whole life. There's just a lot of people who get a tiny bit of power and they love it. You know what I mean? It's all they have, and they're gonna get, you know, like it's all the teachers in high school. It's like, and you're like, okay, I guess this is like the first time you've ever been able to tell a small group of people what to do.
Yes.
Like that's classic, and they exploit it. And then now, especially in this economy, but it's true of most young people, they're kind of economically fragile. They don't have a resume. They don't have confidence. They're like, oh, is this just how it works? You just get sexually harassed? I guess that's just what having a job is.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know, they don't know. They don't know. And they don't know, like, no, you can get a better job. There's better jobs. Don't deal with assholes, or like get this guy fired or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, that's what he wants to do. Like this guy, he just wants to be able to sexually harass her without her like being cold towards him. Like, no, you need to like it.
He wants to do whatever he wants to do.
And she better like it.
What a pig. Fuck this guy. I hate how manipulative he is. I feel like she's just trying to have a professional relationship. He's the one just behaving constantly inappropriately. And OP, you're not the asshole for indulging your manager. There are situations where, like, you know, you said you work in a mid-sized town, which is probably good. But like, yeah, sometimes people are in a small town. There's one fucking good place to work. And then it's like, now you got to put up with the toxic motherfucker who rules the roost. But I do believe, and maybe it's a little bit optimistic, but I believe this is true. And I believe, what is it? There's some kind of phrase that's like the moral arc of the universe tends towards good, which means like over enough time, the good ones do win. Like, because in the end, usually, like, I think we all want to work with people that aren't nightmares, like usually, you know? So
I'm also curious if there's a little bit of, because they worked at a coffee shop before and I don't think he was her manager then. I'm curious if it's like, because it is probably hard. And I mean, I think this happens to people all the time because people are constantly getting promoted and stuff. But I bet you there is like a little bit of a like learning curve when you're like, oh, okay, we're not coworkers anymore. Like, we're not on the same level. I'm your manager now. And he's like blurring the lines, you know, of like, okay, you can't, like, just because we used to be friends, like, you have to now treat me like I'm your employee when before we were coworkers.
That's very fair. The colleague thing or the coworker, same level, is different than power dynamic.
And I think that happens constantly. Like, anytime, you know, your coworkers are getting promoted and it's like, oh shit, there's a power dynamic shift that happens of like, oh, we have to now figure out how to, like, we're not on the same level anymore. I have to like treat you like you're my boss.
All right.
And I mean, not to give him any leeway, but I just think he needs to, like, okay, you know, you're the manager. You need to figure out how to deal with it.
Well, that's it.
Stop putting it on her.
A lot of people would get promoted, and instead of their thought being, I now have more responsibility to the people under me, they think of it the other way. I now have more power over those below me. And it's a nightmare. Honestly, people like that are very difficult to work with, and it's miserable. AITA, and they're disrespectful. AITA for not indulging my manager, I think we agree wholeheartedly. NTA, and he is.
Yeah.
Guys, please rate, review, subscribe. Join us on Patreon, patreon.com/AITA pod. Submit on our subreddit, reddit.com/r/AITA pod. We got lots of good stuff on there. Follow us on socials. Much love. And here we go. We're going to wrap up on this one. I actually really like this one. It's a great listener submission. AITA for telling my husband someone doesn't always have to say sorry. My husband, 30M, and I, 30F, have been married for 2 years, together for 6. We don't have a conflict-free marriage, but I would say we are typically excellent at resolving conflict with good faith. We have only had 2 to 3 major blowout arguments, and they've all been the result of a similar issue. My husband said when he's upset, hearing "I'm sorry" makes him feel a lot better. This has helped me examine when I'm being defensive and de-escalates to him typically apologizing quickly as well. However, I have also told him that someone doesn't always have to be quote unquote in the wrong, and that I don't feel comfortable with the expectation that I always have to initiate apologizing as the only means to de-escalate. Earlier tonight, we were talking in the car and I said, quote, I remember you said that they, unquote, he heard, I remember he said, and asked me what I was talking about. I told him what I actually said, which was the word they, but he was adamant. There was no way to verify who was right, so in my eyes, we can chalk this up to a minor miscommunication. He got very upset that I wouldn't admit to mixing up my words and just say sorry. My stress level went up because I know it's a touchy subject, but I don't think it's healthy for either of us to just say what he wants to hear. I said, quote, someone doesn't always have to say sorry. If you can be certain about what you heard, I can be certain about what I said. I understand you want me to validate that I made a mistake, but I think we both need to accept this is a miscommunication. He became frustrated and told me I was gaslighting him because I wouldn't just admit to my mistake and apologize. This really hurt me, and I told him I wasn't trying to make him question his reality or make him feel crazy. The last time he said something like this to me, 5-ish years ago, I literally went back to therapy because that I was so worried I was repeating my ex's behaviors. We came to the conclusion that my husband, then boyfriend, may have been experiencing hypervigilance due to emotional manipulation from his parents. I kind of thought we moved past this, and these types of remarks really upset me. So I found myself questioning whether I was actually trying to manipulate him, which then spiraled into me feeling emotionally manipulated. This got very complicated. That is a huge accusation, and I don't like that I have to satisfy his need to hear, quote unquote, sorry, so that he doesn't play that card. I also pointed out by his own logic, he was gaslighting me if the only requirement was not agreeing about the specific word used during a conversation. As a side note, I also asked if he was bothered by something else ahead of the convo. He said he wasn't. I keep going back and forth on whether I should apologize for getting frustrated and being stubborn, or if I need to hold firm on this boundary, AITA. Whew.
Oh, brother. I mean, it's a miscommunication. Simple as that.
I think so. And such a pedantic micro miscommunication.
You misheard a word.
You misheard a single word. He's really
They
trying
to he? Good
We're
Lord.
gonna build a whole case there. I don't think we
All
got
you have to
much
say is, oh, sorry, I thought I heard you say he. And even if you did, I mean, my dad, for example, cannot, and this has nothing to do with like non-binary or whatever, but pronouns, he won't get them right. Like it's a running joke. Like he'll just say any kind of, like it's mainly he goes, like he says, he'll be like, he goes, blah, 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 blah. He says it for himself. He'll like, it's almost like he talks in third person. It's like a weird tick. He doesn't know where he got it from. He'll be talking about me and he'll go, he goes, he just talks really fast. He said, and I'm like, so we always like laugh. I like call him and I'll go, he goes. And then he like starts cracking up. It's like kind of hard to explain, but he just like cannot.
I feel like it's hard to explain. I just feel like it's fucking weird.
Isn't it strange? It's like a weird like thing in his head. And he'll be like telling a story really fast. And he's like, he goes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, who are you talking about? Like,
About
who's
you?
he?
He'll
Yeah.
refer
And
to
he'll be
you?
like my sister or my mom or whatever. It's always he though.
So interesting.
And so it just kind of reminded me of that, where it's just like, even if she did say he instead of they, like it could have just been a little fuck up in the middle of a story. You know what I mean? Like, why get so mad about it?
I would pitch that your dad might be like hyper woke. Like in his world, there are no pronouns.
Yeah, it just, anything goes.
He goes, that's so funny.
Like it just all works for anybody.
Yeah, yeah. Because it's almost like male default, but then if you go hard enough with it, I'm like, well, he's saying everyone's a he, so it stops
Yeah.
kind of being anyway.
And he'll do she sometimes too.
But then
But it's mostly he. And it's in
so
talking about himself as well.
he'll say she about himself
Or
sometimes.
like he, yeah.
Yeah.
He goes, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Oh, so he'll be telling a
in
story.
like third person, but he's not
So it'd be
meaning to do it.
That's so I'd be like, yeah, so I saw the preschoolers and he was really feeling like a celeb. That's so weird.
It would be like, he goes, hi guys, did you want to look at my one wheel?
That's what?
It doesn't make any sense.
We should study your dad.
Yeah, he's a character.
But yeah, so I think the mistake itself here, this just doesn't fit the bill. I will cite good old Dr. Vega. I think, because what does the boyfriend do? He throws out gaslighting and stuff like that. I think, you got to really mean it, man. If you're going to drop it's a heavy thing to throw at someone.
Mm-hmm.
It's gnarly. And if you're just saying that willy-nilly over a he-they miscommunication, it's ugly. It's an ugly thing to throw out. So I don't think it's productive. If you intend to continue a relationship with someone, I would say try to avoid gaslighting, narcissist, abuse, all these heavy words, because it's just not super productive.
No,
I
you can't diagnose somebody.
Yeah.
And right, I felt like come from it from your perspective.
Yes.
And the fact that you like need her to apologize when it was just a tiny little miscommunication here. What does she need to apologize? Like, did he? He didn't apologize, right?
He didn't apologize. Yeah, and I also feel like the apology mandate, and I think I've definitely grown here. I mean, I think the first step in a conflict is understand. Let's figure out kind of what happened here, which I feel like OP did, and husband just was stuck because he was very adamant about this apology. But I feel like the first step is understand each person and then validate each person. And usually if you do those two things, the apology will naturally follow, right? Because like if I understand and validate that I hurt Shannon's feelings, well then obviously it would be axiomatic for me to be like, well, and I'm sorry for hurting you or whatever it would be.
Didn't mean to.
But that isn't here, right? We understand this is a miscommunication. We validate. You think it was a miscommunication, and that's what it was. And he's kind of refusing to validate that.
Right. Sorry that you thought I said he, but I said they. Like, what would the apology even be?
Sorry, I said he when you thought yeah, it doesn't.
Because it's like I believe that I did not say he. I'm pretty sure I said they. So what would I be apologizing for saying, like, so then you're making me lie essentially when I believe that I did not say he.
And even if there was a voice recorder or whatever, she was proven wrong, it still seems strange. Sorry, I misspoke.
Right.
I mean, I guess you could say sorry there. Sorry, I misspoke. I think that's
sorry,
clean.
I misspoke, which is like kind of like controlling and weird.
Yeah, that doesn't seem necessary. You don't need to apologize.
No, for misspeaking.
Yeah,
that seems so rigid and
over a single pronoun.
Yes.
Your dad would have to be on an apology tour.
All the
he
time.
He goes. I'm sorry for saying he goes. He goes. He goes. I'm sorry for he goes. He goes.
Because, like, I do understand if it was like she misgendered someone, I understanding apologizing then. But she literally just misspoke a pronoun or didn't even misspeak a pronoun. But even if that's what happened,
right,
that does not require an apology.
No. So, yeah, I think, okay, so then what else? So then her stress level goes up. And I think that is because, you know, he's getting very emotional here. And I think that's the other thing, you know, and I think we were talking about this on the Boneyard is like just studying your own emotions and like it's when you put that on another person that is starting to get a little ridiculous. It's like you're getting she writes he got very upset that I wouldn't admit to mixing up my words, and like the emotional math ain't math in here. It's like you're getting super mad about this, like nothing happened.
Who is, I mean, maybe we're jumping the gun to the update here, but like when I had first read it, it was like, oh, he doesn't want her talking about a he, period.
Yeah, that I clocked that as well. I think we can build a little more to the update because I wanted to also say, so then he drops gaslighting on her. And OP, I think, is very on point here. You know, I don't think it's healthy for either of us to just say what he wants to hear. Agree. When you say you're sorry, if you just say it willy-nilly, you're also kind of reducing the value of your sorries and just throwing it out. Like, so what are you really sorry about? Like we said.
Yeah, I do appreciate that he is usually the one that like kind of comes and says, I'm sorry first. Like she does mention that.
That's not what I understood. Where'd you get that? That he says sorry first? I didn't understand that.
Oh.
I got that she says it first.
Oh, okay. Okay. I thought that they were both like good about like.
Because I thought there was a word about initiated in here.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you're right. She does say, I don't feel comfortable with the expectation that I always have to initiate apologizing as the only, not first though.
Initiate.
If she was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just, this to me escalated very quickly. He became frustrated and told me I was gaslighting him. You know, it's like you just brought out a knife, bro. Like this is like a level 1 miscommunication and you just threw that out.
Yeah, and if anything, I do agree with her that it feels like he's gaslighting her.
Yeah, I think we had a Discord debate about what does gaslighting mean. I mean, I just feel like what he's doing is demanding an apology for something that simply should not require an apology. And I don't know if I would call it gaslighting, but he's definitely manipulating her into getting what he wants instead of being like, hey, I'm having a big emotion about this right now, and I don't know what it's about because it's definitely not about a miscommunication. I just need some space and time. But instead, he's like, no, it's about this. And it's like, I don't think it is, because this was a non-incident. So why don't we just not build
Yeah, let's
forever?
talk
Let's
about
get to this
that.
update. Do you want to read the update?
Sure. We took a time out and ended up at an impasse again when we revisited. He decided to sleep it off and set an alarm to wake up a little early and have time to talk before work. I was right to believe that something else was up. When I brought up that from my perspective, he was being controlling, and also that I didn't know how to go forward without feeling like I was walking on eggshells, he got a better handle on explaining why he felt gaslit. Turns out he was feeling insecure about something totally different. Hearing me say he, which I 100% believe he heard, even if I don't believe I said it, triggered that insecurity that he hadn't communicated previously, which caused him to spiral into believing that my doubling down meant that I was hiding something. Because in his head, why else would I just not admit that I misspoke? We were having two totally different arguments and never would have seen eye to eye if this information hadn't come out. Funnily enough, as soon as he said it, all of the anger drained from him, and it was like an immense weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He realized how silly he was being and took ownership for letting something fester rather than communicate in the first place. This was totally uncharacteristic behavior for him, hence my desperation in posting. And I understand now that these new feelings of insecurity are hard for him to process. He apologized for the gaslighting accusation and his own issues, clouding his ability to see things from my perspective. We still need to have the going forward talk so this doesn't happen again, as well as address the thing that he was insecure about. But I have no doubt that part will be productive and successful. I do feel at least a little vindicated knowing that something was up.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of good signs here. I know we are the break up with him meme subreddit, but I think, look, I think people can get triggered. People can harbor paranoia. I mean, it's something that sometimes can happen from past relationships, stress, whatever. I mean, there's any myriad of, look, we're all human. We all fuck up. It happens. And I think he did score some major points with me. First of all, we have that this is uncharacteristic. So this was an exceptional situation.
Exactly.
He seemed to own the gaslighting thing. He said he had his own issues clouding his ability to see things from her perspective. Like he seemed to really, I guess where I didn't understand fully is why is he so insecure right now?
I don't really know, because I just went to go look back at her saying what she said was, I remember you said that he, right? That's the sentence.
Yeah.
And what she said was, I remember you said that they.
Right.
So the thing that she was saying, that she remembered that he, her boyfriend, said that another guy, he. So like, it's not like she was like, I remember when I slept over his house. Her house. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like the sentence was even like, could have been construed as if she was like talking about a guy that she was into. You know what I mean?
No, totally. That's why I don't really fully get it, because I'm like, where did this come from? Like, why? I mean, I can just kind of like armchair theorize and be like, maybe he's someone whose parents cheated or whatever. So it's like, it's an insecure.
Anything can like, but in that sentence, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I could totally get it if, like, my example, it's like she had a little Freudian slip there, or like, you know, confessed something that she was like actually sleeping at her boyfriend's house instead of her friend's house, like she said.
Well, I get what he is doing, because it might slip out in other ways, but what you're saying is like a very explicit slip up.
Right.
You know, I'm sorry. God, did I say I was sucking his dick? I was sucking her dick. Oh my God. What was I thinking? No, but I think that it can slip out when people cheat. You know, they just say odd things or little slip ups, like whatever.
Maybe he thought that.
But why is he paranoid, right? Like, obviously.
It was something that he said.
Wait, what?
It was something that he said. It was something, I remember you, my boyfriend, said that he. You know what I mean?
No. The initial quote was she was quoting him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I remember you said that, they. And so he thought he said, I remember you said that he.
Yeah.
So the he would have been someone that he knows.
Right. I just don't understand. I'm like curious at the deeper level where this is coming from, because I think that's going to be key for him. And I do think that should be a core to this talk, is thinking about like what issue, what is the real reason that we had such a big thing and we kind of threw out the gaslighting knife. But that said, I feel good. This sounds like a healthy couple. OP sounds super mature.
Yeah.
And I think we all go through this. I mean, this kind of like goes to a lot of conversations of like learning not to apologize, when to apologize.
Yeah. Or like, I think we've talked about like, you know, do you always have to say please when you're asking someone a favor? Like, it's just like little things that like, we all have different handbooks of what we believe is like the right way to do things. And so when you're melding together, as relationships do, a lot of times you have to realize what works for the other person, you know, like it's like, oh my gosh, okay, if it is like super important for you to hear me say please at the end, like I will definitely try and make an effort to always say please, you know, like little things like that. But then it can get into murky waters where it becomes controlling.
Sure. Yeah, sure. I mean, this is a wild conspiracy theory. I'm not really putting this forward. Okay. But there is a thing I feel when people cheat, they'll project cheating onto the other person.
Oh, for sure.
You know? So I'm not really saying that that's happening, but it's like that could be another source of extreme paranoia.
Right. Which she did just say that it triggered an insecurity of hers. We don't necessarily know that the insecurity is that he thinks
an insecurity
she's
of
cheating.
his.
Yeah, it could just be like
hers.
I don't know, something about
so much like your
another
father.
guy that is like another guy who I don't know. He's insecure about or something. Who fuck knows?
Yeah, who knows where it comes from?
Give us another update after you hear this this episode if you can answer any of the questions that we had here.
Thanks for submitting, OP. I love this one. It was a simple thing. It was a little thing, but I think it goes into a lot of conversations about assertiveness, apologies, understanding. So this is really great. Thank you so much.
For sure.
ATA for telling my husband someone doesn't always have to say sorry. He goes.
NTA.
And he is.
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's unreasonable for him to need an apology, but it seems like he understands that too.
He goes, thank you guys so much for listening. It actually could, like, I can't talk after I say it. It's so weird.
I have a video of him doing it. I'll show it to you.
I didn't catch it on the first, you know,
I don't think
listened
he
to the
did
banter
it.
on the pod. He
I don't think
suppressed
he did
it
on the pod, yeah.
He's like, don't say it goes, don't say it goes.
I'm just thinking that the entire time.
All right, guys, we'll see you next time. He goes, bye.